If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're looking for something more. Not just more money, not just more success, but something deeper. A sense of peace, purpose, maybe even a spark that makes you feel truly alive. And I want to start by saying this. You can have it. You can build a life that feels rich, not just in your bank account, but in your soul. But here's the part most people don't want to hear. It requires change. Not someday. Not when life is easier. Not when you feel more ready. But now, most people live in a loop. They wake up, check their phone, go to work, come home, binge something on Netflix, scroll some more, go to bed. Repeat. They're busy. Always busy. But if you stop and really ask them, are you growing? Are you becoming who you are meant to be? Most would hesitate. Because deep down, they know they're stuck. They're comfortable, but unfulfilled. That's the paradox. We crave change, yet resist it. We want better, but hold tight to the familiar, even when the familiar is what's keeping us small. But what if I told you that wealth and happiness aren't reserved for the lucky or the gifted? They're built by design, through decisions, and yes, through discomfort. This isn't another feel-good motivational talk. I'm not here to sugarcoat reality, because the truth is too valuable for that. I want to talk to the part of you that's ready to wake up, the part that's tired of pretending, the part that's been whispering, there has to be more than this. There is. It begins the moment you stop waiting, the moment you decide that your future matters more than your excuses. It begins when you realize that the habits you repeat, the mindset you feed, and the choices you make every day are either building your life or breaking it down. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan, but you do need to get honest. Honest about where you are, honest about what you want, and most importantly, honest about what needs to change. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So in this video, and throughout this entire journey, we're going to cut the fluff. No shallow tips, no fake positivity, just real, grounded insight on how to build a life you're proud of. A life that feels strong, clear, and full of meaning. It starts with you. Not someday, today. Are you ready to change? So let's start here. What do you really want? That question sounds simple, but it's one of the most confronting questions you'll ever ask yourself. Because it cuts through the noise. It silences the autopilot. And it forces you to pause to get honest about what you've been chasing, and whether it's truly yours to chase. Most people don't know what they really want. Not because they're lazy, but because they've never been taught to ask. From the time we're young, we're told what to want. A good job, a steady income, a house, a family, approval, safety, comfort. And we keep going through the motions, climbing ladders we never chose, chasing goals that never really felt like ours. And then one day, you wake up and wonder, how did I end up here? Busy, tired, achieving things that don't even fulfill you. That's what drifting looks like. That's what happens when you don't choose on purpose. And the problem with drifting is this. It always leads you away from who you were meant to become. So today, I'm inviting you to stop drifting, to stop living by default, to decide intentionally what you really want. Not what looks good, not what's socially acceptable, not what earns you likes or applause, but what actually matters to you, what lights you up, what pulls something honest and powerful out of you. Maybe for you, it's building your own business. Maybe it's moving to a place where you feel free. Maybe it's being present with your kids. Maybe it's writing a book, traveling the world, or just having peace of mind for the first time in years. Whatever it is, you need to define it. Because clarity is power. When you're clear, your energy has direction. Your decisions make sense. Your boundaries get stronger. And your life starts to reflect your truth instead of your fears. So write it down. Say it out loud. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, if nothing stood in my way, What kind of life would I build? Now don't just dream it, decide it. Be specific. If you want financial freedom, what does that mean? A number? A timeline? A feeling of ease? If you want joy, what does that look like? Who are you with? What are you doing? If you want growth in what area? What skills? What habits? And here's the real key. Once you decide, commit. Don't just wish for it. Don't just talk about it. Live like it matters. Make choices that align. Say no to what distracts. Be bold enough to disappoint the world if it means being true to yourself. Because the truth is, clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from deciding. And discipline? Discipline is just honoring that decision, even when it's hard, even when it's slow, even when it's quiet. This is your life. And no one else gets to choose what you want. But you do. You have that power. You've always had it. Now it's time to use it. Now, let's talk about something we all do even when we don't realize it. We avoid the truth. Not because we're weak, but because the truth demands change. We cover it up with busyness. We drown it out with noise. We scroll, binge, buy, snack, gossip, justify anything but sit still and listen to that quiet voice inside that says, something's not right. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your relationships, your finances, your mindset. Deep down, you know something needs to shift. But instead of facing it, you delay. You distract. You say, I'll deal with it later. But here's the thing. The longer you avoid the truth, the more it costs you. Not just in time, but in energy, peace, and opportunity. Because every day you avoid the truth, you're building your life on a foundation that isn't solid. And even if you're working hard, something always feels off. That's why this next step is so powerful and so uncomfortable. You've got to face the truth you've been avoiding. You've got to look in the mirror and ask, where am I pretending? What have I been tolerating? What's not working? Even if I've convinced myself it's fine. Because here's what's real. Avoidance doesn't protect you. It only postpones the breakthrough. And that breakthrough can't happen until you get honest. Honesty doesn't mean judging yourself. It doesn't mean beating yourself up. It means getting clear finally on what's holding you back. It means stopping the cycle of blaming others, blaming your past, or blaming luck, and saying, this is my life, and I'm ready to take responsibility for it. That level of truth, it changes everything. It recalibrates your decisions. It strengthens your boundaries. It aligns your actions with your values. And most importantly, it sets you free. Because once you face the truth, you stop wasting energy pretending. You stop chasing things you don't even want. You stop settling for less than you deserve. And that honesty? It brings peace. A quiet, powerful peace that comes from finally being aligned with who you are and who you're becoming. So here's the invitation. Get still. Get honest. Face what you've been avoiding. And remember, the truth doesn't break you. It builds you. You're not here to live in denial. You're here to lead yourself with clarity, with strength, and with integrity. So stop hiding from the truth. Start building with it. Because that's where freedom begins. Let's talk about habits, those invisible threads that quietly weave the fabric of your life. Your habits aren't just things you do. They're reflections of who you believe you are. They shape your identity more than your intentions ever will. And often, it's the smallest habits that have the biggest impact over time. Think about it. How do you start your morning? How do you respond when you're stressed? What do you do when no one's watching? Those tiny choices? They echo. They compound. They either build momentum or reinforce the very things that keep you stuck. If you're feeling frustrated with your life, overwhelmed, or stuck in a cycle of almost, it's not always because your goals are too big. It's usually because your habits are too small, too inconsistent, or too comfortable. But the good news? You don't need to overhaul everything. You just need to start with one. Pick one habit that you know is holding you back. Maybe it's hitting snooze every morning. Maybe it's doom scrolling instead of reading. Maybe it's the way you avoid hard conversations or how you overcommit to things that drain you. Choose it, name it, and then replace it. Not with another shiny distraction, but with something that nudges you toward the person you're trying to become. Instead of snoozing, stretch. Instead of scrolling, journal. Instead of numbing out, check in with yourself. You don't need motivation, you need intention, and then you need repetition. And don't forget your environment. Because willpower is overrated. If your space is full of distractions, your discipline doesn't stand a chance. So clean your environment. Set reminders. Surround yourself with people who reinforce the identity you're building, not the one you're breaking away from. Track your progress, not obsessively. Just enough to build awareness. Just enough to tell your brain, this matters now. We're not living on autopilot anymore. And when you slip, because you will, don't spiral. Don't scrap everything. Return, refocus, repeat. Because consistency always beats perfection. Your identity is a mirror, and every habit is a fingerprint you leave on the reflection. So, what are you creating? This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you already are, underneath the noise, the distractions, and the outdated routines. So, today, choose one thing. Start small. Stay serious. Let your habits speak for your future louder than your words ever could. Because freedom, growth, success, they don't come from one big leap. They come from 1,000 small shifts. And it all begins with what you choose to repeat. Now, let's get real about something that quietly steals our focus, our drive, and our long-term happiness: the need for quick rewards. We live in a world where everything is instant. One tap to shop, one swipe to match, one click to escape. And our brains? They've adapted. They now crave speed more than substance, comfort more than commitment. But here's the problem. The things that matter most in life, wealth, health, purpose, love, growth, they don't happen fast. They don't fit into a highlight reel. They're slow. They're layered. They demand patience. And that's where most people fall off. We say we want a better future, but we keep feeding our brains with cheap dopamine, checking our phones every 5 minutes, choosing entertainment over effort. Starting something and quitting the moment, it feels hard. It's not because we're lazy. It's because we've been trained unconsciously to chase relief instead of results. But that pattern? It's a trap. Because short-term comfort always comes at the cost of long-term fulfillment. So how do you break it? You start by practicing the pause. Next time you feel that urge to scroll, to snack, to quit, to escape, stop and ask yourself, does this move me closer to who I want to be tomorrow? Or is it just numbing today? It's such a simple question, but it's a powerful one. Because in that moment, you interrupt the loop. You give yourself the chance to choose with intention instead of instinct. Here's the truth. Your future isn't being decided by the big decisions. It's being built in the micro moments, the 2 minutes you chose to breathe instead of react, the 5 minutes you stayed focused instead of drifting, the one temptation you said no to because your purpose meant more. And if you really want to grow, if you really want to build a life that lasts, you've got to stop measuring your day by how entertained you felt or how easy it was. Start measuring your day by how often you kept your word to yourself. Did you follow through even when no one was watching? Did you move the needle even a little? Did you resist the shortcut in favor of something real? That's the kind of scorecard that leads to mastery. Also, protect your mind like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Your environment matters. If you constantly surround yourself with noise, distractions, and quick fixes, don't be surprised when discipline feels impossible. Clean up your digital space. Simplify your surroundings. Create friction for bad habits and flow for good ones. And be patient with yourself. Building mental resilience isn't about never slipping. It's about bouncing back faster. It's about making the hard choice more often. It's about showing your brain that discomfort isn't danger. It's just a signal that you're stretching. You're not supposed to feel amazing every time you choose growth. Sometimes it feels boring. Sometimes it feels invisible. But that's the price of building something real. That's the quiet grind behind every great life. So today, slow down. Interrupt the pattern. Choose the long game. Train your brain to value progress over pleasure, peace over hype, and purpose over impulse. Because the people who master this, the ones who can delay gratification, who can hold the line, who can stay steady when it would be so easy to drift, they're the ones who don't just survive. They thrive. They lead. They win. And so can you. It just takes a different kind of strength. The quiet kind. The steady kind. The kind that chooses what matters again and again until one day your life becomes the proof. And that day starts with one decision. I will not settle for quick relief. I will build something that lasts. And I'll start now. Let's talk about something most people overlook: discipline. Not the loud kind, not the showy kind, but the quiet, invisible kind that no one claps for. You see, real discipline isn't about performing when everyone's watching. It's about what you do when no one is. It's the choice you make when you're tired, when the motivation's gone, when the excitement has faded, and it's just you and the commitment you made to yourself. That's where character is built. Anyone can show up when there's applause. But who are you when it's silent? When the camera's off? When the only person holding you accountable is you? That's the test. That's the edge. Discipline is keeping a promise to yourself, not because someone else will notice, but because you respect yourself too much to break it. It's waking up on time when no alarm is forcing you. It's finishing the workout when no trainer is watching. It's doing the hard thing not because it looks good, but because it feels right. Think of it like this. Every small act of discipline is a deposit into your self-respect bank. Over time, that account grows, and it pays dividends in confidence, resilience, and momentum. But here's the kicker. Discipline isn't a mood. It's a mindset. If you only take action when you feel like it, your life will be shaped by emotion. But if you act based on principle, on who you want to become, then, even on the hard days, you move forward. That's what separates people who dabble from people who build. People who talk about change from people who live it. Because true success, lasting, fulfilling success, doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. It's built in the moments when it's easier to quit, and you don't, when it's tempting to skip, and you still show up. And yes, it can feel lonely. You'll see others taking shortcuts, skipping steps, getting quick wins. But what they gain in ease, they lose in strength. The real rewards? They go to the ones who stay steady, who choose integrity over impulse, who value becoming over performing. And when you stack those quiet wins day after day, something shifts. You start to trust yourself. You stop needing outside motivation. You become the kind of person who follows through. And that kind of person? Unstoppable. So the next time it's quiet, the next time no one's watching, ask yourself, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Then do that. Not for validation, not for applause, but for you. Because the world may never see the work you put in behind the scenes. But your results will. Your life will. And that's what makes it all worth it. Now let's talk about something that's harder than it sounds, but more powerful than most people realize: speaking up for yourself. How many times have you swallowed your thoughts because you didn't want to rock the boat? How many times have you smiled and nodded when deep down you were hurting, confused, or even angry? We've all been there, because it feels easier to stay quiet. But let me ask you, easier for who? Silence often looks like peace, but inside, it's a slow erosion of self-respect. Over time, unspoken needs turn into resentment. Misunderstandings become habits. And your truth gets buried under layers of politeness. But here's the truth. You deserve to be heard. Not just when it's convenient, not just when it's safe, but always. Speaking up doesn't make you difficult. It makes you honest. And honesty with clarity and kindness is the root of every strong relationship, including the one you have with yourself. If you want real connection, real growth, real alignment in your life, you have to be willing to say what you mean and ask for what you need. You have to learn how to express your boundaries without guilt. Because boundaries? They're not walls, they're bridges. They don't shut people out, they show others how to love and respect you better. Yes, it might make some people uncomfortable, but discomfort isn't cruelty. And protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. Here's a mindset shift. Stop seeing your needs as a burden. Start seeing them as a blueprint. When you speak clearly, when you honor your truth, you give others a chance to meet the real you, not the edited version. And let's be real, people can't read your mind. Resentment often grows in silence. So speak early, speak calmly, speak clearly. Let your truth breathe before it turns bitter. Whether it's in your relationships, your career, your friendships, clarity is kindness. The sooner you voice your needs, the stronger the connection can grow. Or if it doesn't grow, at least you know you stood in truth. And that's a win too. Some people may drift away when you start speaking up. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every chapter. But the people who stay, they'll love the real you, not just the agreeable you. So here's your challenge. The next time something doesn't sit right, don't silence yourself. Breathe, reflect, then speak. One sentence, one boundary, one honest truth at a time. And when you do, your self-respect grows, your relationships deepen, and your inner peace strengthens. Because the most powerful voice you'll ever hear isn't the one shouting from the outside. It's the one inside you, finally telling the truth. And that voice? It's worth listening to. Let's explore something we all experience but rarely master: emotions. Most of us were never taught how to truly understand our emotions. We were told to calm down, get over it, or toughen up. But here's the thing. Emotions aren't problems to fix. They're data, signals, feedback from your inner world trying to tell you something important. But that doesn't mean they should drive the car. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you need to act on it. That's where emotional mastery begins, in the pause. In the breath you take between stimulus and response. Let's say someone criticizes you. Instantly, your body tenses. You want to snap back, defend, retreat. But if you give yourself even a few seconds to pause and ask, what's this really about? You shift from reacting to responding. That shift? That's power. Because when you react impulsively, your emotions are in control. But when you respond intentionally, you are. And that's the difference between feeling like a victim of your circumstances versus becoming a leader of your life. So how do you start? First, become aware of your triggers. What makes you feel defensive? Insecure? Angry? Small? Noticing those patterns isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because once you know what sets you off, you can learn to sit with the emotion instead of letting it run the show. Think of it like this. Your emotions are guests. Some are loud, some are quiet, some overstay their welcome. But you don't have to give each one a microphone. You don't have to let every feeling dictate your direction. Instead, ask yourself, what would my future self want me to do in this moment? That one question can save relationships. It can protect your energy. It can keep your vision intact. Because emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing how you feel, it's about choosing how you express it. It's about aligning your responses with who you want to become, not just how you feel in the moment. And the more you practice this, the more stability you build, internally and externally. People start to trust you more. You trust yourself more. You stop being a prisoner of mood swings and start becoming a person of presence. You don't get rattled easily. You don't chase validation. You don't spiral over things you can't control, because you've learned to ground yourself, to breathe, to pause, and to lead from the inside out. And let's be clear, this isn't about perfection. You'll still get triggered. You'll still feel deeply. That's part of being human. But emotional mastery isn't about never stumbling. It's about stumbling less and recovering faster. So next time you're about to react, pause. Just long enough to ask yourself, is this who I want to be? And then respond with clarity, with strength, with vision. Because when your emotions are managed, your message gets heard, your presence gets stronger, and your impact gets deeper. That's how you lead your life, not by controlling everything around you, but by mastering what's within you. And that's emotional power at its finest. Now let's talk about something that quietly shapes more lives than we admit the need for approval. It starts early. As kids, we learn that if we behave a certain way, we get praised. If we fit in, we're accepted. And that craving to be liked, to be chosen, to be approved, follows us into adulthood. But here's the hidden cost. The more you chase approval, the more you drift from authenticity. Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, every time you say yes when your soul screams no, every time you adjust your path to meet someone else's expectations, you lose a little piece of yourself. Slowly, quietly. Until one day, you look around and wonder, whose life am I really living? Let me remind you, you weren't born to be a mirror for someone else's comfort. You were born to be a window to your own clarity. And that starts by letting go of the need to be approved by everyone. Because trying to please everyone, it's the fastest way to forget who you are. So what's the alternative? Self-approval. Learning to trust your gut. Learning to validate your choices not by how they look on the outside, but by how they feel on the inside. Ask yourself, if no one clapped, would I still do this? That's the question that reveals what's real. True freedom begins when you stop editing yourself to fit a script someone else wrote. When you choose alignment over applause, purpose over popularity, depth over decoration. Now, I won't lie, letting go of approval is going to cost you. Some people won't get it. Some might pull away. And yes, standing alone is uncomfortable. But what you gain is worth it. Self-respect, inner peace, and the joy of finally feeling like you're walking your own path. Because leaders, real ones, don't seek applause. They seek truth. They don't follow trends, they follow clarity. And they aren't afraid to disappoint the world if it means they're showing up for themselves. So, here's the challenge. Next time you feel the pull to shrink, to edit, to impress, pause, ask yourself, what would I choose if I weren't afraid of being judged? Then do that. Speak that truth. Make that move. Live that vision. Because the people who matter won't need you to shrink. And the ones who need you to shrink don't matter. This is your life, your voice, your legacy. Make it real. Not for their approval, but for your alignment. Let's finish with one of the rawest truths we rarely talk about: effort when you're tired. Because let's be honest, it's easy to show up when you're energized. When the skies are clear, your schedule's light, and motivation's running high, showing up feels good. But that's not when your character is built. That's not when your future is decided. It's the days when you're drained, when the work feels heavy, when your body is tired and your mind is scattered. That's where the real game is played. Tiredness isn't just a physical state. It's a test, a mirror, a question. Will you still honor your path when it's inconvenient? That's the difference between those who almost and those who always. Those who wish and those who work. Because effort, real effort, is a decision, not a mood. It's showing up not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. Think about it. Your dreams don't care how you feel today. They care how you act today. And every time you push through that wall of fatigue, Even if it's just one small task, one honest effort, you're building something bigger than a habit. You're building identity. You're proving to yourself that you can be counted on, that your word means something. That's how trust is formed, not just with others, but with yourself. Here's the truth most people miss. Greatness isn't built in the highlight reel. It's built in the quiet, exhausted moments no one sees. The extra rep, the last email, the walk when you'd rather nap, the focus when distractions scream louder than purpose. Every time you honor effort over excuses, you create momentum. And momentum is gold, because momentum makes the next right step easier, and then the next. And suddenly, the hard days don't break you, they build you. This isn't about hustle culture or burning out for the badge of productivity. It's about discipline with heart, about learning the rhythm of rest and action, about knowing when to pause and when to push, and trusting yourself to know the difference. So the next time you feel tired, ask yourself, what would my future self thank me for? Maybe it's finishing the task. Maybe it's showing up imperfectly. Maybe it's just not quitting today. Because every time you choose to move even tired, even slow, you're closing the gap between where you are and who you want to be. And that's how legacies are built. One tired, honest, beautiful effort at a time. Let's close with something that sounds simple, but can change everything. Choosing growth every single day. Every day, life presents a quiet fork in the road. One path leads to comfort, routine, autopilot. The other? It leads to growth, often uncomfortable, sometimes messy, but always worth it. And here's the part most people miss. Growth isn't just a big leap you take once a year. It's a decision you make in the small, unseen moments. A reflection. A choice. A whisper to yourself, I won't stay the same. Not today. Because here's the truth, you're either evolving or repeating. There's no neutral. There's no standing still. The habits you keep, the thoughts you entertain, the things you tolerate, they're either pulling you forward or holding you back. So what does it look like to choose growth daily? It starts with awareness. Taking 5 quiet minutes to ask, where am I avoiding growth? Where am I coasting? Then it moves to intention. Maybe today, growth looks like finishing that project you've been dodging. Maybe it's telling the truth in a conversation. Maybe it's taking a walk instead of another scroll. Maybe it's forgiving someone, including yourself. Small moves, honest ones, repeated often. Because here's the magic, it compounds. One small upgrade today becomes tomorrow's new baseline. One moment of courage becomes a shift in identity. And when you stack enough of those small wins, transformation stops being a distant goal and becomes your daily reality. And don't get caught in comparison. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Not someone else's highlight reel. Not their pace or progress. Just yours. Ask yourself, am I moving forward even a little? If yes, that's growth. If not, don't shame yourself. Just choose again. Adjust the sail. Course. Correct with love, not judgment. Because consistency, not perfection, creates change. The ones who grow the most aren't the most talented. They're just the most intentional. The most committed to showing up, again and again, even when it's hard, even when it's slow. So if you're looking for a breakthrough, don't wait for a big moment. Create a small one. Today. Write the page. Drink the water. Take the walk. Speak the truth. Set the boundary. Break the pattern. Whatever it is, choose it. And then, choose again tomorrow. Because growth isn't a place you reach. It's a direction you walk in. And every day you choose it, you're becoming. Not perfect, not finished, but real. And that's more than enough. So where does that leave us? If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. Wealth and happiness aren't accidents. They're outcomes of clarity, of honesty, of quiet discipline when no one's watching, of boundaries that protect your peace, of emotions you've learned to master, of authenticity that risks rejection, of effort when you're tired, and of daily growth, even when it's barely visible. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing to stop drifting and start designing. Designing a life that actually fits who you are, not one that's been shaped by fear, by pressure, or by someone else's expectations. So let this be your moment, not of inspiration, but of initiation. Don't just nod along. Don't just agree in theory. Decide. Speak up. Take the step you've been putting off. Keep the promise you've been breaking. Say no where you need to. Say yes where it matters. Show up, even if it's messy. Even if you're scared. Because life won't wait. And your future doesn't need more delay. It needs you fully engaged, fully present, fully alive. The world doesn't need a more polished version of you. It needs the real you. The one who knows their truth, honors it, lives it. So what's one thing, just one, you'll do differently today? That's how it starts. Not with a lightning bolt, but with a quiet, steady, deliberate choice. And tomorrow? Choose again? That's how you build a life you don't need to escape from. A life that feels like peace, like strength, like home. Start now. You're ready.